Hello, I'm Stephen Hilliard, a BigCommerce Developer Relations Advocate. Welcome to another edition of our solution series, where I am talking to Hunter Leachman of BigCommerce in the PSE department, and we are going to be talking about something that was built in-house. Hunter, if you'd like to introduce yourself, maybe say a little bit about your day-to-day.
Yeah, so my name's Hunter. I'm a support software engineer in technical support in BigCommerce, in the CSS department of BigCommerce, and mainly split my time between kind of fixing bugs and helping build internal tools to help our PSEs, be as efficient as possible and be able to troubleshoot things quickly and effectively. So we built this internal tool. It's still very open-ended at this point. We're developing different features. Some features that we have now are various exports powered by the BigCommerce APIs, basically things that are available through the API, and exporting and importing those to CSV files. Down the road, we hope to add some more troubleshooting stuff to help with looking at the server-to-server API, server-to-server checkout API, and just kind of automate the setup of some of these scenarios when you're wanting to help troubleshoot a situation. Setting those up can be kind of a manual and error-prone task. So as much as we can kind of automate that, the better. So to develop this, we used our Node.js, the newer Node.js starter that uses Next.js. And so all the front end is React and all the back end is basically Node. And it's a really great framework, gets you working on your project very quickly. It's like one of the least, the configuration there wasn't this painful setup and configuration on the front end. You can just kind of start working, which is always really awesome. And if you haven't used Next.js before, it's kind of like I don't know. It's sort of like Create React App, but it has a back end as well, and it basically wires up all your React and Node endpoints to where you have this one code base, and it makes it really nice, especially if you have a small team and people are having to do front end and back end work. It's really nice in that regard. So if you're thinking about developing an app for BigCommerce, I would definitely check out this sample app that we have. It's available on GitHub. It's open source, and you won't have to sort of mess around with all the wiring. Your installation process will be pretty well in place, so you won't have to fool with that. The installation process for if your app's on the marketplace and somebody wants to install it in the control panel, all that wiring is kind of handled for you here, so you can just focus on the business problems that you're trying to solve, which is refreshing for sure. This idea kind of stemmed out of a holiday hackathon, but everyone on my team has been with BigCommerce for over. I'm the youngest one at 6 years, so and we've all were tier ones, we were tier twos, PSEs, all the way through the support cycle, and what we notice is that once you get onto PSE, there's some situations where you're really having to do some significant coding to solve a problem or to diagnose a problem. And every generation and a half of PSEs was kind of coming up with their own tools, making their own scripts and stuff like that, or just outright apps. And that's a great exercise for our PSEs to go through and to build their skill set. But we really wanted to kind of get all of that energy going into a single place. So we said, let's get this app deployed to the cloud. Let's have, continuous integration, continued deployment, so that we can just focus all of that energy that's going into making these scripts and making these solutions. Let's just put them all in one place and let it kind of build over time, instead of being this fractured, everybody's kind of making their own thing. So that was kind of the idea behind it originally. Also, we're having to address, talk to partners and merchants who want to use a lot of this stuff, the big design, stuff like that. So being able to use it in our own project really gives you kind of a deeper organic understanding of that framework or library in a way where you can really step in and help troubleshoot much more effectively.
Agreed.
In terms of tips, I would say definitely, if you're a partner and you're thinking about building an app, definitely consider using Big Design. It will, give your app that native feel to where it feels like it's almost a part of the control panel, and you'll get a lot of components for free, and won't be reinventing the wheel. It'll give your app a nice native feel in the control panel. And so that's one thing I would definitely recommend. And check out the Next.js starter, this repo, especially if your team is cool with JavaScript. You can just do full stack JavaScript. You're not dealing with a lot of wiring stuff up, and you can just focus on solving problems. So I definitely recommend these two, this starter and the Big Design component library. One last thing I would say is maybe try to don't make any technical decisions earlier than you absolutely have to. Maybe not absolutely have to, but don't make them too early. For instance, this Next.js starter will give you the option of two different databases you could use. You could use MySQL, or I think Firebase is the other one. I would keep an open mind about where your app's going to go and what technical solutions will be best for you. You don't want to we need to use MySQL because we just need to make a decision. This gives you the option of kind of delaying that decision on which database you want to use. And I would just be mindful of that. Don't make a technical decision just to make it.
If there was one thing to someone that is coming in saying, I really want to build an app, but I don't know where to start, what would be kind of like the one thing that you would say to someone that's like new to the app building, but is really excited to get into the development of that?
I would say that's a great position to be in, because you're not going to have to do much. Like, you could just take this Next.js starter and not do any code changes and just fire it up locally, and you'll get to start working almost immediately. So I would say, my personal opinion, I would say get this Next.js app and get it online in a way that you're comfortable with, to where you feel like, okay, I'm confident our team can deploy that application that way, and just deploy the starter and go from there, and improve your process as you go. Just start small, and you don't really have to do any coding initially. You can just kind of go through the setup of this repo.
Awesome. It's great advice. Well, Is there anything that you want to plug or anything coming down the pipeline you maybe want to hint at?
I think we're still, in the works on this app. We're still developing it and coming up with new features we want to add. So I would say nothing in particular, but we're definitely open to hearing from partners or merchants if there's, something that you think would fit well in an app, but it's not something like a partner would really address. There's not like a business case maybe to address it, but it's something that we could address. That would be something, we want to hear all about that if we can. So that would be the really only plug. I did have this deployment process for the app if we wanted to go through that, but if not, that's cool too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this we didn't adhere to this exactly, but this is roughly what we do. So we push our code to GitHub, and it runs our tests, and then we have a GitHub action that we push a button once the tests have passed, and that will initiate Packer. And Packer is an application from HashiCorp that will spin up a server, install any dependencies that you may have, such as your application or operating system level dependencies that you might have. This is all on AWS, and we have this AWS Secrets Manager. So you'll have variables that are environmental variables that are getting set, and those are stated as code in your configuration, but the actual secrets are pulled from AWS via the AWS CLI. So once our AWS server image is created, then Terraform will take that. And the way Terraform works is another application by HashiCorp. Is it uses it's an application written in Go that uses the AWS APIs, or really any cloud provider. There's different plugins that you can use. And we'll look at the current state of your infrastructure and compare that to your infrastructure configuration file that you have. And it's anything that it sees as incongruous between those two, it will shift the infrastructure. It will make the necessary API calls to AWS to give you the infrastructure to match what your configuration says. So we have a pretty simple deployment. We have deployment 1 and deployment 2, blue, green, whatever you prefer. And one will be at 100%. And as we introduce changes, we'll deploy that and slowly move traffic over until the previous deployment just has 0% traffic, and they just switch back and forth. We use RDS, so we're not having to do any of the database management and security updates, things like that. We're not having to do any of that. That's all kind of managed by AWS. Then we have a web application firewall that allows us to subscribe to different blocking logic. So AWS has a lot of provided lists, bad actor API, stuff like that. And you can subscribe to those lists to block certain kinds of traffic. And then we have a load balancer. These right now just have single instances in the deployments, but we could scale up to multiple instances in each deployment if we had to. And this was my first experience with Terraform. And I have to say, if I was running a partner program, I would be all about this, because now you can sort of formalize your deployment plan, and all your applications, maybe there's one or two that have some kind of weird requirement or something, but most of your apps can use this kind of architecture, and it's just been really awesome to just be able to push to GitHub and deploy from there. So if you're a partner and you're building apps, I'd really look into Terraform for deploying your apps. It really can kind of formalize the whole process and make it easier to support and easier to maintain for sure.
To the audience out there, like Hunter said, if you have any ideas for app builds that you'd like to see that really don't fit a real business use case, but still would like to see it done, please reach out in our various BigCommerce community channels or throw down some of your ideas in the comments below. We look forward to hearing from you on it. Hunter, thank you for your time. It was great talking to you.
It's great to be here.
All right.